Start off by thanking everybody. I can't believe what all you guys did during this pandemic. We sent out a call, and within a couple days, the shelter was cleared, and you guys all had our wonderful kitties in your care in your homes. It's amazing. I can't get over how responsive and quick, and you guys just jumped into action, and it's amazing. It never ceases to boggle my mind at what you all will do and how quickly that you respond. You've gone with the flow as things have changed. It's been minute by minute in some instances. The staff would get together a plan, and hours later, we were throwing that whole plan out the window because we got a new news release that something else had changed, and we were going this way instead of that way now. And we really appreciate your flexibility and your willingness to hang on to the cats and kittens a little bit longer, and be supportive of everything that went on, because it's been a wild ride, definitely. 4 software systems later and a few bumps and a couple craters, I think we're on the downhill side of this, and hopefully getting things resolved. And we really appreciate all your feedback and input into the solutions, and look forward to getting everything going smoothly again and getting things back to normal. But thank you. We can't tell you how much we appreciate you.
Thank you, Nancy. All right. I think you're up, Christy.
Okay. I wanted to kind of chat with you guys about what is happening on a national level as far as what the standards are and what they're saying that everyone should be doing for cats and kittens across the country right now, while we're all kind of playing this fun pandemic game that we are playing. So NACA is the National Animal Care and Control Association, and they put out guidance at the beginning of all of this stating that shelters should not be taking in animals unless they are sick or injured. So that is what has been going out to shelters across the country for a couple months now, and that is what most shelters are doing. So if you're not aware of that, that is what Washington County Animal Services, Clackamas County, Dog Control, Multnomah County Animal Services, all of our county partners in our area are following those NACA guidelines. So what that means is that if the public is contacting them and saying, there's a stray cat or dog, doesn't matter what it is, they're telling them to leave the animal there unless it's in danger, unless it's hurt, unless it's injured. So they're telling them, leave the animals where they are. And the reason that they're doing that is really to try to help protect the people, and because oftentimes the animals are actually fine and going to do better if you leave them alone. But by making this happen, they've been able to reduce their staff and reduce the amount of people that are in their building at any one given time. And that has helped with stay-at-home orders, across different states and different regions. And so really it was to help out staff. But as we know with a lot of cats, there's a lot of indoor-outdoor cats out there that people go, oh, this poor cat, and they scoop it up and they take it to a county shelter, and then the family never finds it. And right now, with more people staying at home, more people are seeing cats wander through their yard that they probably never noticed before because they were at work or they were doing something else. And so now they're seeing all these animals and they're concerned about them. But we have a lot of community cats. We have a lot of feral cats that have feeders and caregivers, and we have a lot of indoor-outdoor cats out there. And they're just saying, leave those animals alone. So while our intake is open and limited right now, we're not seeing a lot of animals in our area in need. So as we start looking for more animals to help, as long as the county shelters are going to be following these guidelines, they're not going to be taking in healthy animals to transfer over to us. So we've started helping out other partners across Oregon, and they're actually all following the same guidance, and so not needing our help really. And so we're actually now looking to out of state. So what does that mean in case if you get asked questions, or in case if you're wondering about animals in your area? So what it means is that if you find a stray, or someone contacts you about finding a stray in Multnomah or Washington County where they have stray services, we cannot take them in. They still have to follow their county guidelines, and they still have to go through whatever their county is saying is appropriate for their animals. So that's just one thing to note. So if somebody contacts you from Multnomah County and says, I have found a mom and kittens and I'd like you to take them, or I'd like Kat to take them, legally we can't if they're a stray animal. If someone owns a cat and kittens and they're looking to place them into our care, that's a different story, and they can go through our intake process. But I wanted to share that with you guys because, you know, people know that you foster and that you volunteer for cat, and they might reach out to you with questions. And I just thought it would be a good idea for you guys to know what we can do, what we can't do, what we should be doing, all of that kind of stuff. And if you guys want to know what the NACA guidelines say, I can copy the URL and stick it into the chat if you guys want to take a look at it on your own. Anybody have any questions about intake, or why those guidelines might be out there, or why counties are following them? Nope. Great.
I will say that's, you know, why we haven't seen a ton of moms and kittens or little kittens so far is because normally they're all coming from Multnomah, Washington County, and because they're not taking them in, like, we're not seeing them as much. So I know you guys are all eager for fosters, but it might be a little bit slow going until things start opening up again, or maybe we're going to see a ton of Clackamas County strays soon. I have no idea. So it's all just kind of up in the air. I don't know if you guys know that, but we do help. We aren't currently not quite ready to help Clackamas County strays yet, but we will be soon, right, Christy?
Yeah, so
we will be
there's
soon.
Some questions going on in here that I can answer. So Clackamas County, we do assist them with strays, and we can do that once we get our processes in place. So normally we have a volunteer who comes in and helps the intake team while they're processing Clackamas County cats, because there's a lot of administrative work that goes into it. We have to post on Clackamas County's website, and we have to get pictures taken. If there's any identification that can lead back to an owner, we have to do an owner letter to make sure that, you know, that they know that we have their cat, and to see if they'd like to have it back, things like that. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. We're trying to figure out how to do that remotely so that it doesn't take the intake team all of that time to do all of that work. So we're getting close to having Clackamas County strays up and running again, but we're not quite there yet. So that answers that one from Laura. And then Chris wants to know, is there any reason we wouldn't accept a group of kittens or cats from the public if they are owned, not strays? We do. So our owner surrender intake is open. We're doing a no contact appointment. So they would submit an intake surrender form online, like they would for anybody that had an owned cat. Our helpline team process those through, and then they get an appointment. And then when they come, it's kind of like everything else. They call and say, I'm here, and put the carrier with the cat outside the door, and then we grab it and do our stuff and then put the carrier back out. So there's a whole process that we just got figured out at the end of last week. And so that's what we're doing. So we are taking in owner surrenders as they contact us, and as it makes sense, as we can do it. Sorry, that's Kate.
Thank you, Christy.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, or are we ready to move to Michelle? Michelle's going to talk about adoptions. I don't know if you guys all know Michelle, but she's I don't know if you all know Christy, but she's our operations director who just spoke there. And then Michelle, who's going to talk next, she's our shelter manager. So go ahead, Michelle.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I don't know all of you anymore, which is weird because at one point I was foster coordinator for a short period of time. So Vanessa is one of our shelter associates, and a lot of you probably know her because she works at our front desk a lot of the time. So she's going to help me talk about this topic some. I want to second what Nancy said, which is thank you all for jumping in as quickly as you did. And also, man, has it been a bumpy road. So we decided pretty early on, as soon as things started changing really rapidly, that our number one priority was going to be to protect our people and help cats as best we can while doing that. And so as part of that, we decided to go with remote adoption. So the contact-free adoptions, where people are meeting cats from their bios, pictures, and videos online, applying to adopt that cat online, and then picking up from us, and then later from foster once we figure that out. All in all, like Nancy said, we've learned 4 different softwares to make that happen in a pretty short period of time. So a lot of those steps have changed, but just so you all know, the effort and time that we're putting into trying to find good matches for cats and kittens really hasn't changed. I mean, what we're doing has changed, but we're still really trying to make good matches and do really good adoption counseling. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit here. I also wanted to let you guys know that we have a couple of new positions that we've started to help support this program. And so I'm telling you this because I don't know what you guys knew before about how things would run. So we used to have volunteer adoption counselors, and then our staff, the shelter associates, would jump in and do adoptions as needed. And for right now, they're just doing all of the adoptions. So all staff are doing adoptions, or only staff are doing adoptions, is what I should say. We developed the remote adoption coordinator position. So that is what Vanessa is now doing. So she's our first point of contact for all adopters. So if somebody fills out an application online for a cat or a kitten and it's not a good fit, or she has concerns, then she's actually reaching directly out to that person to discuss those things. So I'm gonna have her talk through kind of like the process and what things look like on our end, and then I'll jump in at some point here. And she's gonna share her screen with you so you guys can see kind of what we're seeing on our end.
Yep. Hi, guys. I'm Vanessa, and if you didn't know me before, I'm usually at the front desk when things are open. But my position has changed a little bit, as Michelle said. So I'm remote adoption coordinator. Misty fills in for my position on the weekends. So I'm going to share my screen just to kind of walk through the process that we're doing right now. And then if you have any questions, please ask. I will answer as best I can. Otherwise, Michelle, I know, will jump in. So yeah, so sharing my screen. Okay. Are you guys seeing the website? Excellent. Okay. So these 2 cats are the only cats listed on our website right now, but this shows the available cats. So when someone goes to our website, they're going to see who's up for adoption. If they are interested in possibly adopting, they're going to click on the cat itself and then fill out an application. This is exactly like if they came to the shelter and they took a look around and they're like, maybe that cat. And we said, hold on, let's get you a yellow sheet. So it's the same types of questions that our yellow sheet has, if you're familiar with that. So they fill out an application and it goes to AutoPets, which is what I open up. So I'm sitting here in AutoPets, a brand new software that we've all had to learn. And under adoptions, this is any new kitty. We don't have any new kitties right now. We just have those 2 hanging out. So I go to the ones in process. And this is going to show Ferris and Blue Diamond, little girl. We're still working on 2. And just had to move that screen. Okay, so this shows the applications. So when we open up someone's application, it will immediately read as your application is under review. That does not mean they're first in line. It doesn't mean anything else other than I have literally clicked on the application and opened it. The pending are ones that I just have not clicked on yet. We don't always feel the need to click on every single application, just because if we have so many, we're going to start going in order. So under details, so there's little girl, shows the 12 applications here. So this one's under review, so we clicked on details to see Marissa's application. And this is just for Marissa, for a little girl. If you go down here, you can see all the questions, and they're grouped in categories of pet questions, home questions, and questions by species. So you can see we're asking, have you had pets in the last 10 years? If so, who have you had with your family? And are they indoor, outdoor? Or, tell us a little bit more about your family, pet family. And then a little about, the noise level of their home. If you've owned a pet in the last 10 years. If you're new cat, if you're looking to have an indoor only cat, indoor, outdoor, or outdoor only. About how long this cat will spend alone during the day. And then if they have any current pets. Then home questions, obviously, for whom are you adopting this pet? We're always hoping it's myself. And then basically number of teenagers, adults, well, 62 and plus, children, and 18 to 61-year-olds. And then the last ones are, of course, do you plan to declaw your cat? What kinds of things would you like to discuss basically during your adoption session, if you have one? What are your concerns? What kind of cat are you looking for? And then is there anything else you'd like to discuss? So this tells us, what the person has in mind. This also shows that this particular person, Marissa, has also applied for these 3 other cats. So she's applied for 4 cats total. But this tells us a lot of information. And so when I open this, I'm looking specifically to say, okay, so stunning, petite, kind. I also go into Shelter Buddy and I read up a little bit on the cat, any medical issues, whatnot. And then I'm weeding through these questions and saying, is this going to be a right home for this cat? If it looks like a really good home, but maybe they've selected outdoor only, or maybe they've selected, yes, I plan to declaw, or I'd like more information, I'm giving that person a phone call. I don't just approve them. I do reach out to discuss those issues to see if I can answer any questions, if I can clarify things, and to see if it really would be a good fit. If ultimately it is a good fit, we feel like we want to take the next steps. I go into email. This is contact us, so it's not my personal work one. And I compose an email using basically a canned response saying, yay, you've been approved for an adoption counseling session. So obviously I just changed to the person I'm, sending it to, the cat's name and my name. And in here, you'll see this is really specific. There's a link that when I send this email, that person's going to click on this link and set up their counseling appointment, which, as you may already know, is held virtually. So it's via a Zoom meeting, just like what we're having now. So that goes on to another software that we use called Acuity. And you can see tomorrow, we do have, someone had clicked on that link that they were given, and she set up her adoption appointment for Ferris. So she will be adopting Ferris tomorrow through the Zoom meeting. That adoption counselor is going to go over everything as they normally would in the shelter, when they sit down with someone and go through it all. And then after that, the adoption counselor will go in and approve them an AutoPet, excuse me. And right when they're approved, that adopter will get the contract to fill out, as well as a way to pay the adoption fee online. So they get to do those 2 things, and then the adoption counselor will set up their pickup appointment, which again, as Michelle said, is via curbside pickup, right? So they'll pull up, call the number, blah, blah, blah. I don't have to get into that too much because mostly you guys are fosters and people will be picking up from your place. In which case that adoption counselor would obviously reach out to you. They'll send you an email saying, okay, this cat's been adopted. blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 da, 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 da. I hope that makes sense. So I hope that makes sense. Does anyone have any questions?
Actually, Vanessa, we might do if you're done with the adoption section, we might have Heather quickly do her section before we move on to like
Yeah.
full questions. Cause I know people have a lot of questions about the adoption stuff. That's probably the most
Yes.
questiony. So, unless you guys have more to say on that, we might jump to Heather and then come back to it real quick if that's okay.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Totally.
Great.
Well, hello. Hi, everyone. It's so fun to see faces. Oh, man. It's been a long time. I just wanted to say a couple of things. One, thank you. As you know, pretty much all the other staff have said, but like we can't do this work without you guys. So we really appreciate you being a part of the team and working with us, especially through lots of ups and downs and craziness added to our normal like summertime, spring kitten craziness, where everyone and their dog wants a kitten and we only have about 4 available. So we know that you are getting bombarded with questions. We're getting bombarded with questions. And so between the two of us, I want to make sure that we're supporting each other, and that being the staff and the volunteers, because we're not 2 teams, we're 1 team, right? And we are already dealing with lots of the public. So as much as we can do to mitigate stress among ourselves is good. And I know a couple of things within the organization ourselves. We recognize that this is a time where everyone is dealing with a global pandemic. And what that looks like for different people is different. But, you know, all of the research is showing us that we're not all on our A games right now. I don't know about you guys, but I have about 3% of my brain available for like new information. About 40% is available for like crying randomly, you know, so not my A game. And I don't expect anyone else to be on their A game either. But, oh, hi, Betty. We do want to continue to uphold CAT's culture agreement, to continue to give each other the benefit of the doubt, to continue to address each other with compassion at a time when compassion fatigue is honestly really high. So just a couple of things from our culture agreement to be mindful about. One is the benefit of the doubt. We are all doing everything that we can to do right by cats and kittens. That has not changed. A whole heck of a lot else has changed, but that hasn't. And so keeping that in mind as we're having conversations among ourselves is really important, but also as we're talking with the public. Also, cat adoption team, the organization wants feedback. That's something that's important to us that goes 360. But it's always important to make sure, again, that we're sharing that feedback in a way that is compassionate, that is respectful, and that it's getting to the right person. You know, if I share feedback about the intake process with Vanessa, that's not that helpful because Christy's managing that. So it makes more sense for me to go, hey, Christy, what's going on with intake? And really be direct if I have specific questions about that. Another piece of our culture agreement is work-life balance and boundaries. And this is especially difficult with so many people working remotely, working odd hours, feeling like either you need to be always on or never on, or it's just a little bit more uncomfortable to set sort of like work hours and work boundaries, especially when your home is your office. So I just wanted to say that if you are reaching out to CAT staff in off hours, whether that's, you know, email, phone, text, tagging us on Facebook, whatever, please don't be offended if we don't respond right away, especially if that's what would have normally been our weekend or even in the evenings, because we're just doing what we can to maintain that work-life balance. And it can be really hard, you know, if I jump on Facebook to sort of unwind and there's a bunch of questions, I feel obligated, I want to help. But it can also feel stressful, right? Because this is my time to unwind. It's, you know, 8 p.m. on a Tuesday night. I don't want to do cat stuff anymore for a little bit. And I want to be respectful of that for you all as well. So please feel empowered to protect your own personal space and boundaries, because I know that it goes every direction, right? And I know that you guys are getting lots of questions, whatever. I think Laura posted something like 100 inquiries about her kittens for adoption, and I'm sure that is going to continue. And that always happens at this time of year because we have, you know, fewer kittens available, but it's especially happening now because adoption interest is really high. More people are at home. And so, you know, protect your own sanity and your own boundaries too. And if you do have questions or you need support, please, please, please reach out to us, and just be sure you're reaching out to the person who can really help you, so that they can get that answered or adjusted or take your feedback to the right person. I hope that that makes sense and that helps. Again, this isn't meant to be, you know, singling anyone out or saying anyone's been doing anything wrong necessarily, but really just to be thoughtful of the fact that right now is a hard time to communicate. A lot of communications happening online or happening in weird times and hours. And so just acknowledging that for everyone, I think is really important. And it's important to me that CAT's internal communication is positive and helpful as it can be. And so if you have suggestions for ways that we can, you know, improve, change, adjust, please let me know that as well.
Thanks,
That's
Heather.
all.
Yeah. I will say that obviously if the on-call lead and your mentor don't apply to those after hours rules. So don't feel bad about that after hours, like that's what they're there for. But yeah, like just other staff, you know. So I think a lot of the like questions we've been getting and a lot of the like, you know, concerns have mostly been about the adoption process. So we really wanted you guys to come in and ask questions or provide feedback or whatever you have to say about the new adoption process. We're open to changing it. We may be looking into that anyway. So go for it.
Well, it looks like we have a couple of questions in the IM. Do you want me to type answers to those, or should I just talk?
Go for it. Talk. Yeah.
Yeah. So Michelle White wants to know what our return policy is. So just so you guys know, in normal times, if somebody adopts and it's not working out, they have 60 days, and we ask them to work with their adoption counselor. And if it's not a good fit, then you know, if we can't help resolve whatever that issue is, then they can return the cat back to us and be eligible for an exchange. And then we don't typically do refunds. For right now, because people are taking home cats they've never met before, all of that is still true. And also, if they pick out a cat who's not a good fit, then they can either have an exchange or a refund, unless we have some sort of huge concern about that adoption or adopter or something. What else we got?
I would say, in addition to that, did you talk about the adoption counselor and how we recommend they reach out to them and get advice and whatnot?
I kind of implied it, but I didn't exactly.
Okay.
Say that, so yeah.
Okay, yeah, just like, because the question was about Larkspur, who's one of the socialization kittens. And first things first, we would always want them to reach out to their adoption counselor and try to get advice, because those kitties, a lot of time, it is just giving them a little bit more time. And
Your sound cut out, Mary. Yeah, and I think it's probably good for you guys to know that all of the SAs who are doing adoptions right now also work on our helpline. So they're the people who are giving clients direct information of when we're getting people reaching out about behavioral concerns and that sort of thing. Okay, are other applicants notified that a cat has been adopted? How soon after the adoption happens? It depends, right? So like if somebody's actually applied for a cat in AddoPets, once that adoption goes through and we've confirmed and the cat has been picked up, then an email goes out to everyone who applied to that cat. but not before then, right? So not like when we've approved the adoption, it's once the cat has actually left our system.
Yeah, so just to be clear, we approve an adoption counseling session is not the same as approving the adoption, because we're still doing the adoption counseling session like we always did. So that's when the actual final approval of that cat to that adopter goes through. And then it's at that point when the adopter's paid and we've approved that everyone else who applied would get notified that that cat's no longer available. And that's because during that adoption counseling session, we could decide that it's not a good fit, or these adopters don't meet CAT's adoption policies, or whatever that might be. And then we would want to still be able to move on to the next folks who had applied.
And then Tia, what happens with all of the applications that aren't chosen? So once their kitty gets adopted, they'll get a thing that says, hey, this cat's been adopted. If we notice that somebody is applying for a lot of cats and we can't get a feel of like what is happening or what they're looking for, or if they've got something going on that we're concerned about, then Vanessa would call them.
I can take the next one. Question from Jeanette, is our fosters still filling out info for Pet Finder? When do we know if our group of cats or kittens are ready for adoption? So that should be in your newest foster manual release that has the COVID-19 updates. But I will definitely explain it to right now, just so, some people are more like, better at learning things via hearing than writing, and I totally get that. So basically, yes, you're still filling out all the normal things you would. So you're submitting your bio and your photos. And also right now we're asking for video, because that's the only way the adopter is going to like meet the cat, right? Is by watching a video of you interacting with them or whatnot. And that's happening a little bit earlier than normal. So we're asking for those starting around 5 weeks of age, just so that we have time to get those uploaded before they become available. The minimum requirement for them to be ready for adoption is 6 weeks, 1.5 pounds, healthy, sturdy, social. That's the minimum. So some cats are ready at 6 weeks. Other ones are not ready for quite a bit longer. It just depends on the kittens, and you're working with me directly on that. So I'll be in touch with you, or, we'll be talking about like, are your kittens ready? What are their weights? Do they, is everybody weaned? Like, what's going on? And if they're not, then we're waiting. So not all the kittens are going home at 6 weeks. In fact, a lot of them have taken a little bit longer to get there. And then as far as, I think that answered most of that question, hopefully. So just so you guys know, I think there's a lot of confusion on this. When you submit your stuff to the Pet Finder email, that doesn't mean they are available then. So that's just us getting the information into our system. And then I am the one who actually has to go in and say, okay, now they're available. But we like to have all that information in there ahead of time so that it's ready to go when we are ready to make them available. So Chris asks, when you receive an application, does the AC encourage applicants to look at social media sites to see pictures and videos before completing the adoption? Pumbaa, which was Chris's foster, the adopter hadn't seen the videos before it was approved. I would say, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say they don't, because they're assuming that you've submitted videos via Pet Finder, and those are the videos that we're having them look at rather than like your personal Instagram. If you've provided a link to your Instagram, they have the option on the bio to click into that and see, but that would be kind of up to them. Is that right, Michelle?
Yeah, and the staff also, like, they don't know who of you are using your social media for fostering and who aren't. Like, we don't really have a way of knowing that. So if you submit it to the bio, that's probably the best way.
Yeah.
Finder.
Yeah, I would say putting a link in your bios, and you can't guarantee that they're going to go look at it, but at least it's an option there for them too. And then I would say take the best stuff that you have from your Insta and submit it via the Pet Finder email, and we'll, put our cat logo on it and we'll put it up on the site, and we'll make it look all pretty for you.
Sorry, I'm like watching the chat. Tiffany, thank you for that feedback. That's excellent. I'm glad that our remote adoption counseling has gone well for at least one person. No, I think it's going okay for the most part.
I just wanted to share that although like our original hope was to have a lot of description, lots of photos, lots of videos up for every cat or kitten that went up for adoption, and they're getting adopted without that information to good homes and good matches. So, which was really weird and surprising. And also I love communications, so I want videos and lots of good bios. But I also am excited that cats are going home really quickly. So although that was our original intent, and I think is important for making really good matches, and I think if we continue to use a system like AddoPets going forward, that'll be a really, really good addition to have more videos and things online. But it's been working, even though we haven't been able to do that as much as we'd hoped to. So that's cool.
Yeah, and I think right now things are just a little different because there's so many adopters and so few kittens that people are just like, a kitten, I'll take any kitten. They don't care, you know? And so I think, you know, it's good that we're getting in the habit, though, of submitting all this stuff because we're going to need it when there's a lot more cats, like, and you're going to have to sell your cat via video, you know?
I wanted to give some feedback on the AC process. So I've heard from some of the adoption counselors that they actually feel like they're making better matches through the process, that people are more focused because there aren't the distractions that there are in the shelter. So they feel like they're actually listening to those conversations and hearing what the adoption counselors are saying, where often when we're doing that in the shelter, the adopter's saying, I want my kitten, I want to get out, I want to go now, I just want to go. And they're not paying attention. So I think in some ways it's actually improved our adoption process.
Very nice. Sean is asking about Oregon Live today, said that Oregon opened up elective surgery. Is Kat in a position now or soon to start doing spay neuter and go back to the standard pre-adoption pickup from the shelter day of surgery? Who wants to field that one?
I can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or go for it.
Okay. Yeah, so we did talk about that today, and we are setting up systems. So we have our staff in work teams. In case if you guys don't know that, we have a team A and a team B. And so you're assigned a work team to try to help with potential, you know, like exposure risks and things like that, right? And so we've got folks set up on 2 teams, and this week we've got some male cats coming in. We're going to go ahead and do their surgeries ahead of time, and then we've got a female cat that we're going to go ahead and do in a dental surgery this week. So that's what we're tackling this week. And then next week we're going to hopefully be in a position to start bringing back some of the female cats that went out on their kitty birth control and start working them through the system. But it will be a slow process. It's not going to be super fast because they have to figure out how to do this in a, 6 foot apart as much as possible with maybe some plexiglass between people and other kind of stuff. So we're still figuring out what that looks like, how we make it work. We think that we got the drop off and pickup part down pretty good because it'll just be like anything else that we're doing at the shelter, but they're really trying to figure out how do they get a cat through a spay procedure. That's the biggest one actually to figure out. So we're working on it. Yes, we know we can do it, and it's our goal to get there. This week will be the trial run. Hopefully next week will be the slow intro to the real thing.
Cute. So the next couple of questions I just want to address personally because they're an example of growing pains and things I messed up on because I wasn't fully prepared for what the changes we were making. So one of them is from Bruce of Bruce and Katie J. You guys were one of the first re-intake appointments I had for your kittens, and I did not give you all the materials you needed during that appointment. So I should have given you the adopter bag of cat food for each one of your kittens. So I apologize for that. If they're still looking for it, please feel free to refer them to the shelter. We'd be happy to get that for them still. And then Tia was wanting to know if there's a way to know when our cats will go up for adoption so we can get the most up-to-date bios. And that, again, was an issue of me being like, everybody get your stuff in, get your stuff in. And then, like, only giving you 24 hours of notice to say, like, okay, I'm going to put them online now. And it was not a great process to start with. And I apologize for that. Normally, what's going to be happening is I'll be talking with each one of you individually about if it's a litter of kittens, you know, are they ready for adoption yet? And we'll schedule a re-intake appointment, and you'll know ahead of time that at that re-intake appointment, they'll become available. With like adults, it's a little different, or socialization cats, it's really just a matter of, are they off medications? Are they behaviorally ready to go? And is all your stuff submitted? And we're just going to be chatting one-on-one to figure that out and decide on a date to make them available. There definitely was a lag for some of your groups because we were slow rolling out the process. So, you know, you may have submitted stuff and then I didn't make your cat available for like 2 more weeks. Whereas the early people had to deal with the problems of like, oops, we didn't get you all the things you needed. Oops, you know, we didn't communicate everything we should have. So sorry about all that, guys, but it should be better from here on out, I promise.
Hey, Mary.
Yeah.
Juliet asked way back, and I'm not sure that we actually answered her question. It says, can I ask my Instagram followers to list that they want 2 kittens from a group for preference on the first application? I've heard that it's difficult to get more than 1 application in quickly. Did we address that one and I missed it?
Oh, no, you're right. We did miss it. I'm sorry about that. If I'm understanding that correctly, the question is if someone's adopting a pair, like they want a pair of kittens? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so just like before, if you have somebody who's interested, you just let me know ahead of time before the re-intake appointment. And if they're the first in line for your kittens and they want both, then they can be, you know, they have that small window of time where they get an application in for both of them and they'll be at top of the line. You just have to kind of feel that as the, you know, person who's choosing the adopters, you know, were they the first in line? We can't give preference to people who want a pair. So keep that in mind. But if someone came first for a singleton, sorry. And I think another question. How many cats are able to stay at the shelter at this time? I don't know.
15 adults. And did we put a cap on kittens? I don't know if we did.
I thought you had said four kennels worth of kittens. So however many.
That sounds right.
That might be, yeah.
I don't know. It's like 15 to 20 cats. So it just has to be whatever we can reasonably caregive for as staff with 1 person. And in the summer we'll add another person. And so for those of you who volunteer out at the shelter, you can imagine that's like a lot of work. 15 cats for 1 person. We usually have, you know, 2 or 3 volunteers helping out with just a few more cats than that. So.
Okay, so Sandy's asking, do they indicate on their application they want to? I don't think they actually need to because they have to be the first in line for both of those kittens. So, you know, basically they're putting in an application per cat that they're applying for, right, Michelle? So it's like,
Yes.
yeah,
Sorry.
you apply for that cat, you can apply for both cats. If it's ahead of time,
Your sound's cutting out.
I think what she was gonna tell you, I'm hoping her sound comes back. Do you want me to?
Yeah, Mary.
I'm gonna try to fill in while her sound
Yeah.
maybe gets better. Is it maybe? Okay. So.
oh, I'm back, I think.
Oh, you're back? Okay, go for it.
Sorry. Anywho, it depends on how you're going about it. So if they go to the website and they're like, I want these 2 kittens, if they're first in line for both of them, they get them. But they can't submit one app and be like, and I want all these other ones too. They have to be first in line. But so if it's through the website, it's that way. But if it's through you as like a family or friends or Instagram, you can say this person wants both of these.
I also will make phone calls, just so you know. So if I see that someone has applied for 2 kitties, I have definitely called people before and said, hey, I see that you've applied for both of these cats. Were you looking for both, or did you want to adopt just one?
Oh, good point.
Okay, great. If it's just one, okay, who are you leaning toward, and blah, blah, blah. So just to make that clear.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Mhm.
Kelly is asking, so if someone emails us or lets us know via Instagram that they want 1 or 2 of our kittens, we can then just let you know, and as long as they filled an application the day they become available, they will be chosen as the adopter. As long as it's a good fit, you got it. That's exactly it. Wait, what a great summary, Kelly. Thank you. I would say there's been a lot of, I don't know if anyone wants to mention that there's been a lot of concern. Did I freeze?
A little, but we can hear you.
Okay. There's been a lot of concern that all the people who have Instagrams are snatching up all the kittens and that there's not a lot of fair access to kittens via our website. So basically when the kittens are up there, they're already spoken for. And so we are trying to figure out some other systems to make things a little bit more fair or have you guys be a little bit more involved in the communication with potential adopters. So instead of us taking applications on the website, you would just communicate with them potentially and find an adopter that way and then let us know who it is. That's one option. We're also going to hopefully have like a back end link that you guys can use to send to your adopters rather than having them just go to the website and apply. They'll just be sent a link and then that's coming, but it's not ready yet. We're waiting for the software folks to actually make that for us. I don't know. Are you guys interested in being able to like field more of the questions and find the applicant? Yes. You know, it's helpful, I think, for everybody.
I think now would maybe be a good time to maybe find out from you guys, like, what are you looking for from this process, or what ideas do you have? Because, you know, we're trying to do the best we can in a short amount of time to make a process work, but we can't think of all the things that are possibly going to go wrong at the time that we're doing it, right? And there was no way to do like a soft launch or a trial launch and somebody else try it out and work out the kinks, because we just haven't been able to do that. And we tried something and it clearly wasn't perfect, but it started the ball rolling and it got things moving. But I think we would love to know from you guys, like, what ideas do you have? What kinds of things would you be interested in us considering or thinking about or looking into? Or do you have some fantastic idea that will solve all of our problems? Please share.
And you guys are welcome to unmute yourselves and say it out loud if that's easier. We do have a comment. Bruce says, we like to have contact with the adopters, so anything that can prevent blind adoptions as much as possible would be great. I will say, to be honest with you, it's almost quote unquote just as blind, other than the fact that you would get to talk to them, because again, they can't come over to your house. We're not allowing that at this point. So they're still going to only meet the kitten via video. But you guys, if you're willing to have the conversations with them, you could provide them maybe with more information than we could. Does that make sense, Bruce? Did you have more on that?
No, that's all we were asking. Just some contact point. We weren't asking to go back to people coming over and playing with the kittens.
Okay, you just like
just being able, so we can give them all the information about the kitten.
Absolutely, yeah.
If they're having little problems here or there, and also most of the time they send us pictures after a while, and it's just fun to have that information.
Yeah.
So what I meant by blind adoptions is, you know, our kitten leaving and we have no idea who adopted it or where it's going or something like that.
Absolutely. Okay, so you want to be more involved in that.
In the old days, that still happened once in a while if you didn't get your kittens pre-adopted. But as you know, we almost always did. So
yes, I do know that, which is amazing.
So that's what we would love to keep, is at least some contact point so they can send us information a follow-up or something. And then we can also tell them that little tiny thing that this kitten really likes or doesn't like or something like that,
Sorry, is somebody else talking?
Nope.
Nope. All right, I'm back. Sherry says, I'm reasonably sure that my kittens will not be ready to be adopted at 6 weeks. They have no interest whatsoever in kitten food. Can I just hold them back an extra week or so? Besides, it's taking me forever to get a decent video. Yeah, if your kittens aren't eating food, absolutely, we're not going to make them available for adoption. Like, they need to be weaned and all that stuff. So Sherry, I'll talk to you. We'll just be in touch and make sure they're absolutely ready before they become available. Chris says, I'm confused by what Mary just said. Instagram users are hogging up all the kittens. You mean people who are on Instagram get first dibs on kittens? Yes. So if you have an Instagram following and you have people that have said, I'm interested in these kittens, we do allow you to give them sort of priority access. And it's a kind of a point of contention when it's early season and there's not a lot of kittens to go around. So, but it is just kind of one of those things, like, if you've got the following and you can find all your adopters, we are letting people choose their adopters that way ahead of time.
It's sort of the interim pre-adoption plug, because we don't have a pre-adoption option. These would be the people who normally would have been contacting those fosters to pre-adopt those kittens, and we just don't have a pre-adopt system right now. It's just going straight to adoption. So that's kind of the interim way that that's happening. Does that sort of make sense?
Okay.
I think that brings up another question, because we as staff were kind of talking about that pre-adoption process and how important it is, not only for the foster parents, but for the kittens and for the adopters, and trying to think about, like, could we do that process again somehow during this time, and maybe what could that look like? And it sounds, by like what Bruce was saying, wanting to have some sort of contact or some sort of way to be able to share information. It sounds like, at least maybe from some of you, that you guys would like us to try to possibly figure out some way to connect you with those adopters before it actually happens, for that kind of pre-adopt kind of piece. Is that right? Like, thumbs up if that's what you're thinking.
Does everybody want that? Because it could be something where you opt in or opt out, like, hey, I don't care. You want to show my cat on the website and do it your side things, great. And other of you are like, give me all the phone calls. I'll find an adopter.
Can I?
The private link should be, when we have that process ready, which will, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, in the next week to 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
What will happen is we'll have a way for you to send an AddoPets link to your kittens to a specific adopter that you've been in touch with. Just the way you would have normally sent them to the shelter to pre-adopt, you will be able to have that link, so that those kittens will not go on the website for just anyone to apply. You'll be able to manage that pre-adoption process a little bit more like you used to be able to. It's something we haven't been able to do yet because we just don't have the functionality in the software system, but we know that that's something that many of you want to continue to do. It'll allow you to have those conversations, to share those videos, to make sure that the person you've been talking with for the last 4 weeks is able to do that adoption and that sort of thing. So that is coming down the line. So hopefully that will resolve some of these questions and concerns, and give you guys back a little bit more of that adopter interaction.
And you won't have to have an Instagram to be able to do that. The idea is we would use the kitten list again in between, like, when they were getting close to that adoption age, we would post them on the kitten list with your email, and it would be the same thing. They would email you and prearrange that. But you'd still have to show them video, probably. But you could do like Zoom. You can do like his little Zoom chat with somebody. I think that's a great option. Like to sit there on a Zoom and have somebody, the cat sit in your lap, show them what they're like, talk to them about them. It's basically like they're there. They just can't touch them.
I know I'm a little different because I tend to have adult cats, but both Lion, Shine, and Bushido, that's exactly what I did. I did FaceTime and Zoom. So with basically the first people that reached out to me and expressed a lot of interest.
Yeah. Yeah. So Tiffany has an Instagram account, and people reached out to her on that before these kitties were even available, and then she found adopters. So. The thing is, we can't have them both places. So we can't like list them on the website and have you guys be fielding adopters. Would be way too confusing because Vanessa's going to have picked somebody and then you're going to pick somebody and no one will know what's going on. So it's like one or the other, basically. Steph says that during kitten season, there'll be more kittens in the shelter, which will alleviate some of this issues that we're having. Absolutely. This is a early season issue, most definitely. People right now, if we were running like normal, people would be coming into the shelter mad that we didn't have any kittens.
Renee on there says that she has an idea or thought, but it's for down the line. Does that mean you want to wait and talk to us about it down the line, or you have an idea?
Well,
it's for later.
I could get it in your heads, and I don't even know if it would be something that we would be able to do, but as a foster, something that I really, really enjoyed was the part I don't normally see, which is the adopters actually picking up their kittens. So my question or my thought would be, once we get back into a normal routine and our kittens are going back to the shelter for surgeries and then going home, as the foster, can we pick up the kittens, bring them back to our house, and have the adopters pick them up at our house? This would alleviate crowds at 4 o'clock at the shelter. Fosters could make their go-home bags as big as we want, so there would be less clutter for you guys at the best. Well, seriously, because I know that that's a big issue. We as fosters want to give these like big gift bags, and we can't because there's not space at the shelter, and that's totally fair, and I get that. But that would alleviate that, and then I would get to see, selfishly, I would get to see the happiness of the people picking up their pets. That was a really, it was a really moving thing for me. It's just a part of the adoption I've never seen, I've never been a part of, because I just drop them off in the morning and that's it, I'm done. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I literally, Renee, I have just like a bullet on my to-do list that is figure out pre-adopts for the next few months. So like that could be part of it. Like just, why not? I mean.
Yeah, I think with our new system, the whole they have to pick up same day isn't as relevant because we're waiting to finalize the adoption until they actually pick up from the foster anyway. So
yeah, and I know that, once they're doing surgeries that now there's medication involved. And so that could be maybe just something, that quick training for the fosters on how to explain the pain medications that they possibly purchased for their cat or kittens.
I think we're going to have a video for that too.
The hospital is actually putting together like a YouTube video that's going to be surgery discharge instructions. And then I believe they're doing one for post-op pain meds as well.
Even better.
When people are taking home their cats, I mean, we're not going to be able to stand there and go over all of that with them. Instead of handing them just a sheet of paper and being like, good luck through a glass door, they're going to do a video to kind of, talk to them about things that they should be looking out for and what to do if they run into problems and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and then it would alleviate crowds at the shelter because you only have so much time after 4 o'clock to pick up. And if they're coming here, I'm home for the rest of the night. So, I can scatter my one litter versus the 4 litters you did surgeries on that day. When and if you start doing that many surgeries again in one day.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, it's kind of a distant question or thought, but I don't know.
But future is good to think about because if we get that information from you now, then we can include that in our thinking about the process versus trying to
Yeah.
guess at it.
And I don't even know if all fosters would want to do that, but I really enjoyed it. I ugly cried with every single one of them. And I apologized to them all individually later. Like, I'm so sorry you had to see that, but it was a good ugly cry. And it was so good because some of them cried with me because they were so happy to finally be picking up their kitten. So
Well,
I
all
don't know.
kittens are
It was an
going-
emotional part.
all kittens are going home from foster care right now, whether they've had surgery or not, right? Because we haven't been able to do surgery. So all of you guys are
Right.
sending home, if you have kittens anyway, you've been sending from your home. So I know Michelle and I have talked about pickup capacity, and if we do start getting in more adults and then trying to send those guys home versus trying to send the kittens home, we had already thought that it would be easier for the foster parents to send home the kittens, and that's how this process got set up in the first place. So yeah, I like hearing what you guys are thinking about and what you're hoping for, so that we don't head off down a different road or think you wouldn't want to do it.
I'm in.
And kinds of conversations we wished we would have had time to have before the other, speak to communication, like being able to get your guys' thoughts is so important and helpful. And we wish we could have had the time to be able to do that before we started the whole process. But obviously, COVID-19 just came and did its thing regardless of our timeline. So
Sandy, I think you were starting to say something earlier. I just want to make sure you had time.
Well, it was, thank you. It was along the lines of, the adult cat, because I currently have Hermie.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I have Instagram, but it's not solely, an adoption thing. So I don't think I get the kind of attention that people who use their Instagram solely for their cats, kittens, whatever. And I think really you've kind of covered it. What I really wanted to be able to do is talk to the adopters before or at adoption, because there's a lot about him to know. I've had him since January, and I know pretty much what every little thing he likes and doesn't like, and it'd be a shame to have it just be this, what was it, Bruce called it, a blind adoption, where they don't get to learn those things from me. So as long as I know that somebody, Vanessa or somebody's gonna let me have access to the adopter, or the adopter is gonna let me have access to their information so I can share it, it'd be great.
I think, Sandy, for the special needs adults that are in foster, we're hoping to do a similar process of that private link because of exactly what you've brought up.
Good.
Yeah, and I think definitely, like we still have a bunch of socialization kittens, cats out in foster, and I haven't gotten like final word on this, but I think we're gonna try to do something where you guys field the questions about them, and we post them on the kitten list, or we make them available on Pet Finder, but no randos can apply. Like you guys, it'll say to contact you, and you can talk to them about the cat and Zoom chat with them about the cat and try to find the appropriate placement, because those are the special ones that really aren't just for anybody. And we want to make people to know what they're getting into. So I think that's going to be the best for those guys.
Kat will still be able to help you market those. So it won't necessarily be on, no one has to go get an Instagram account to market their fosters. We'll still be able to continue to support that. We aren't doing that right now because we don't have a process to tunnel those correct adopter fits versus random public. So once we have that process in place, then we'll be able to do more of that again, like we normally would have when we had special needs cats in foster before.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, we got some other things on here. There's questions about how long are we telling adopters it will be before they can come back for spay neuter? What about male female pair adoptions of 8 weeks old? So I don't know how long we're telling them. I think it's just like when we're back up and running, as far as I understand. And then we're telling folks that take male-female pairs that they can come back at, I think it's 4 or 5 months of age, and get them started on birth control if we haven't scheduled their spay neuter before then, which hopefully we'll have taken care of that before that date comes. But and then yes, you can adopt out male and female pairs. We will start the female on the, either neuter the male or start the female on the birth control at that age.
I can take the next one from Laura about, does anyone have any idea when the shelter will be allowed to take in healthy cats, kittens, strays again? So that's a great question. And I think as the nation is trying to figure out how they're, each state is going to slowly open, and, areas within each state opening up will all depend on, what that looks like. So as long as there's a shelter in place order in Oregon, it's my understanding that Washington County Animal Services and Multnomah County Animal Services are going to kind of follow these guidelines, because they're still trying to keep their staff safe, right? So they're still following the human part of the governor's orders, and trying to limit the staff that they have in the shelter, and keep social distancing a high priority. And then any people coming to the shelter then will disrupt that as well. So I think as long as that's going on, that they'll probably keep doing what they're doing. I know when we looked at the different orders and stuff, we're going to be talking about it tomorrow. We're going to be looking at what like a retail services should be doing. Is kind of how we're looking at our model, but we're a little bit more retail than what a county shelter would be. So it's hard to say. We get on a weekly phone call with them to kind of hear updates and wonder what people are doing and what they're thinking about and stuff like that. But right now they're not going to, and I would assume they're probably assessing it week by week. So it's hard to know. But my best guess is, while the shelter and order places are in effect, that they'll probably continue doing what they're doing. Best guess.
Okay. Renee asked, would it be possible for fosters like Sandy to be a part of the adoption counseling? So you mean like they would get on the Zoom call with because the adoption counselor is just going through like sort of our basic standard thing and then reviewing the medical records, but
ideally in a case like Sandy's, she would have talked to that adopter before they got to the adoption counseling session, so she wouldn't need to be a part of it. If I'm understanding what you're asking, she would be having those same conversations just like kitten fosters would with potential pre-adopters.
Right. I think that would be the idea. Like, just like always, we would put your guys's email up on Pet Finder, and they can email you and ask you questions. And then when you find somebody, you let us know, and then we talk about the rest, right?
Okay.
Let's see. Lucinda was asking about adopting at 6 weeks and the change to that. She says, personally, I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable with it, although I understand the reasoning behind it. Are you looking for more of like the specifics of it, or I mean, basically we've changed to from an 8-week adoption age to a 6-week adoption age. Did I freeze?
Yes, but we can hear you.
Okay. And that's just like the nationwide, I don't know if it's a nationwide standard, but it's definitely a standard, getting to be a standard now, that 6 weeks of age, as long as they're healthy and robust and weaned and social, is an okay age to adopt them out at. And it does allow us to save more lives by opening up more foster homes sooner to take in more kittens from shelters that are struggling. Did that help answer your question, or do you have more on that? You can always put something in the chat window.
Hi, I'm new, so I feel like maybe it's not my place to question question any policies you have. I guess I just wonder how it's going to be as a long-term strategy. Like, are you going to wind up with more kittens that maybe, have more health issues, or, just because they're younger when they're going out to a home, that in the long term, will it wind up that also causes issues, I guess?
Those are good questions. Yeah. Christy, do we have any information from the shelters that are doing it statistically?
So the shelters that are doing it are that I know of mostly are in California, and so the big push for them clearly is trying to save animals versus kill animals, because there's just so many down there, and they haven't had the ability to do the kind of spay neuter impacts that we have up here, right? We're definitely in a different area or a different way of being up here, right? Because we've been able to do so much spay neuter and kind of get our populations under control, and they have not. So the anesthesia, just to kind of talk about that part of it, is the same anesthesia, and it's definitely safe for the kittens at the 1.5 pound mark. Again, they have to be 6 weeks, 1.5 pounds, and like robust, like fat little potatoes, not like scrawny, skinny, I'm not weaned yet, I'm, sickly, like none of those guys, right? Like these have got to be nice, big fatties, right? And so the anesthesia part for them is safe. It's not anything that would, compromise their health or them, or would cause any other kinds of complications. We've at CAT have done surgery on smaller kittens that have had like an emergency situation where we had to go in and do stuff, and they've been okay. As far as behavior goes, if you it depends on where you look and where you read, but some places it'll say like it's best to leave kittens with their moms until they're 3 to 4 months of age. And there are a lot of things out there that say that that's a really good idea to make them like the best cat you can make them. However, you have to kind of weigh that with, well, if we kept them until they were 3 to 4 months of age, they lose bonding time with their new people, right? So kittens are learning to bond between this window that we have them in. And if we're sending them home with their new families, they get the chance to bond with that family, to learn the family dynamics, to kind of like fit into that household and that meshing, whether it's another adult cat, whether it's a sibling kitten that they took home, whether it's a dog, a rabbit, whatever they have in their home, we're taking away that bonding time from them, and we're keeping it with whatever unit there is, like mom and kittens or just kittens, right? So there's kind of both sides that you have to look at and weigh at. And then if we're holding them in foster care for up to another, say 2 more months, like if we go from 2 months to 4 months, it's really hard to justify how many kittens are going to die in that process to then justify leaving them with their family unit. So it's weighing a lot of stuff, right? There's what we've seen coming out of California is they're not experiencing this stuff like behavior problems or like high returns or anything like that. But the other part that you should know about is they've only been doing this for a couple of years, right? So those kittens are now like 2 years old. And so will it impact them, throughout like 15, 18, 20 years of life? Maybe. It's hard, it's hard to know. There's no data to tell you that. But lots of people get kittens off the street and from their neighbors well before even 6 weeks of age. And that's a pretty normal thing that happens too. So I think what we are trying to do is make the best decisions that we can for as many animals as we can, and by doing it as safely as possible. And that's why we're saying big fat kittens that are robust, who are weaned, who are ready to go and be out on their own. We know that there's a lot of mom cats around that 6 week time who are like, okay, I'm done with you. I'm weaning you. I'm ready for you to be done. And they'll hang out with them and still do some stuff. But really they're like, it's time for you to kind of move away now. And that's why we feel like it's a pretty safe option. There's always going to be like the mama's boys that just want to be with mom the whole time, and maybe those kittens need some more time, in foster care, and that's fine. We're not trying to push them so hard that it's detrimental to the animals at all. So that's why it's good to talk with Mary if you're like, I've got a little skinny kitten, or I've got a kitten who's sickly or struggling. Like, those are not the kittens that we're saying send home early. We want them to be those big, robust little fatties.
Yeah, just like Sherry just said, she's like, my kittens aren't even interested in wet food. I'm like, great. We're not going to post them at 6 weeks. And I think everyone who takes moms and babies have chimed in here too, that moms are done with their kittens in 6 weeks. Like, they want out, they go back into heat, they become a nuisance. And I always hear from foster parents right around that time, like, hey, any chance I could bring my mom back in now? You get annoying.
Did that help answer your questions, or did I miss something?
Yeah, no, I think you answered it. Thank you.
Great.
And it's okay if you're new and have questions. That's totally fine, right? I mean, that's the great thing about being new, is that you're learning lots of stuff. So we're here to help.
Yeah. Anybody have anything else? Did I miss anything on the chat? Oh, Chris says, so realistically, we can start seeing more kittens coming soon.
If we can find them. If we can find kittens and people need help, we will bring them in. So it's just whether or not, there are owned moms and kittens that need to find a shelter, or that a shelter out there has them and wants to send them to us.
And just keep in mind, right now, I have a ton of open foster homes, so it's pretty high competition to respond quickly to these foster requests and actually get a group. But as you all know, that changes, and we will get busy at some point, and we will need all of you, I promise. Oh, Chris is already trying to bribe me.
I don't think as culture agreement. I don't know if they're specific to bribes, but I just feel like we need to address that, Chris.
I take bribes.
What I meant was, I like brownies.
Oh, except she doesn't get to choose.
I have no sway over.
She has no say in it.
But I'll take the brownies and lie to you about it.
You could always send them to me, and then I could try to make some more intake things happen. I don't know. I'd share them with Hannah.
Yeah, and I am still working on stuff from our whatchamacallit, the what was that thing, the meeting we had earlier with the fosters, the
Summit.
The summit. Thank you, Nancy. We had a summit, which the newbies you guys don't know about, but we had one where we talked about ways to improve the program, and one of them is a better kind of system for knowing who's available and who's first in line, and so it's not just like who's the fastest on their email, to get the next group. So it's still in my head, and I'm working on a process that we can kind of make it a little bit more fair for those of you who are at work and whatnot.
And that goes with who makes the best brownies as well. There's
Also,
a
yes,
column
also.
for that. Yeah.
They get to the top of the list.
I just heard a brownie off, and I'm definitely involving myself in that. However, you need a judge. I'm in.
Are you guys all doing the Facebook fundraiser for the kitten shower? Shameless plug.
Don't forget tomorrow when you donate, $5,000 match thanks to a fellow volunteer who is going to make a match if we can raise it, and I think we can. So be sure to let your friends and family know too.
Does anybody not know about that wants to know more about it? Chris wants to know about it, Heather.
Excellent. Thank you. So tomorrow is it's an international day of giving. So I don't know if you're familiar with Giving Tuesday. It normally happens in the fall, but it's an international day of giving. It encourages people to give not only funding support, but also by volunteering and interacting with the community. But they sort of in response to COVID-19 decided to put together one of these days to help organizations fundraise now. So tomorrow, May 5th, we're doing a big fundraising push. It's called Giving Tuesday Now. So CAT won't be the only organization fundraising tomorrow. It's kind of a lot of different organizations that'll be involved, but it's just an extra special reason for people to come together and give right now. And we have a volunteer who stepped forward and offered a challenge match. So she is donating, basically matching all gifts tomorrow up to $5,000. So I'm hoping that we'll have a $10,000 or more day for Cat Adoption Team through fundraisers. So gifts that are made tomorrow will be matched until we reach that $5,000 point. Then we'll get that match in. And then any gifts beyond that are just icing on the brownies.
And that's any way they donate, right? Not just via the Facebook.
Correct. So
Fundraisers.
people can make a gift either by going to our website. We are going to be posting multiple times on our social media. And then anyone who gives to anybody who's running a personal fundraiser for Cat Adoption Team right now on Facebook, if they give through those fundraisers. And we'll also accept mailed checks, although honestly, I think we'll reach the match before any of those checks would come in to CAT.
Yeah. And then Chris, I don't know if you were curious about, did you see the Facebook thing that went out that said how to start your own fundraiser? Yeah. Okay. Cause yeah, that basically you just go onto your Facebook and you can follow Heather's instructions that she sent out. She sent it out via the Google group and via the Facebook group. And you can set up your own fundraiser and then people can donate to your specific one to CAT.
Okay, I probably saw it and just passed over it.
No passing over it. Get that set up if you want those kittens.
But yeah, thank you guys for those of you who have started those fundraisers. Actually, people are raising money like crazy already. So I'm excited. I think tomorrow will be a big day. And then of course, we'll continue fundraising for the kitten baby shower and for all of CAT's programs through the rest of the month. So yay, I like money. That's why I do my job. Actually, I like cats is why I do my job, and I like them money. So.
Does anybody else have anything else they want to talk about? Anything you want to bring up? No? Sherry said she would love to do the kitten baby shower, but having technical issues with Facebook. Hopefully we'll be having a social media training soon and we can help you with that kind of stuff. We got some thank yous. You're welcome, Bruce. We're recording this, so we'll send it out and maybe get some feedback from some other folks too who weren't able to attend.
Yeah, thank you all for jumping on and sharing your thoughts and asking your questions. And please do keep asking them. So yeah, I'm glad my instructions were helpful.
Yeah, and you guys can always just email me, or probably email's best right now. I do get your voicemails if you call my shelter line, but I'm working from home mostly, so email's always great. All right, bye, Chris. I think we're gonna check out. You guys all have a lovely evening, and thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Great to see everybody. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.